But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he be drowned in the depth of the sea. That was the Romans' second favorite way of torturing people, next to the cross. Put a millstone around your neck, take you out to the water, throw you out. And Jesus says, if you offend little Christians, new Christians, baby Christians, maybe all of us, it even be true, because we are all His children in this context. Woe, verse 7, woe to the world because of offenses. And offenses will come, they must come, but woe to the man by whom the offense comes. If your hand or foot causes you to sin, cut it off. Get rid of the things that are causing you to stumble. Cast it from you. It's better for you to enter into life. It is better for you to enter into life lame or maimed, rather than having 2 hands or 2 feet to be cast into everlasting fire. See, your stumbling blocks become other people's stumbling blocks, and you need to have the humility to say, I can't really go there. I can't really do that. When I go back to Germantown, Ohio, which is where I'm from outside of Dayton, Ohio, when I was a new Christian, I knew where all my friends were. I'd go back and preach, and I'd go back and do this and that. My friends didn't flock to the church. And I talked to a pastor up in Ohio, and I said, what am I to do? I want to see these guys. And he says, well, you have to go where they are. He says, I don't think you understand. They're at the bar. And he gave me some advice. He said, here's what I'd do. You go there. You like 7-Up? I said, I like 7-Up. You get yourself a can of 7-Up, and you keep it in the can. And you go in there, and you find your buddies. You talk to them. And as long as they're willing to talk to you, stay there. When they don't want to talk to you anymore or start stuttering their words, and you just find your way out. I took his advice. There was somebody in church on Wednesday, had been to church this Wednesday in our church, one of these former friends. I guess he's still a friend. He came to church Wednesday. Second time in his whole life he's been to church. He came to see me in Anchorage. And it's all because I came to him because I knew he wouldn't come to me. But you got to be careful, don't you? You got to seek some wisdom. You got to watch out for this stuff. Take heed, verse 10, that you do not despise one of these little ones, for I say to you that in heaven their angels always see the face of my Father who's in heaven. Guardian angels, that's where that comes from. For the Son of Man has come to save that which was lost. What do you think if a man has 100 sheep and one of them goes astray? Does he not leave the 99 and go to the mountains to seek the one that is straying? And if he should find it, assuredly I say to you, he rejoices more over that sheep than over the 99 that did not go astray. Losing something, getting it back, makes him so excited. Even so, it's not the will of the Father, your Father who's in heaven, that one of these little ones should perish. He's still talking about children. He's still talking about little ones. And now he comes to verse 15. And we've got to understand that what he's talking about now is children need to be disciplined. You either have to discipline yourself or be disciplined by others, and that's the context. Moreover, if your brother sins against you. Moreover means he's still talking about this. Go and tell him his fault between you and him. What's that say? Alone. If he hears you, you've gained your brother. If he hears you, you've won your brother. By the way, nobody is exempt here. Nathan confronted the king of Israel, King David. Moses confronted Pharaoh. And by the way, Nathan confronted David privately. His sin was a private, unknown sin. Moses confronted Pharaoh publicly. Pharaoh had a public sin. Everybody knew he had millions of slaves. So this context is, if you can keep it to a small audience, do that. If you've been sinned against by a fellow believer, go to them. Tell him what you think has happened between you and him alone. If you don't talk to God, if you talk to somebody other than God, unless you're seeking counsel and wisdom, and if you're seeking counsel and wisdom, because what's a new Christian supposed to do? He's got conflict, he needs to come to me or a teacher or somebody, a leader, or just a fellow Christian, and say, look, I've got conflict with somebody. Don't tell me who it is. Here's what the Bible says you're supposed to do. We don't want to be nitpickers, but all of us have to teach people how to handle this kind of conflict. Say, well, here's what you got to do. Just go to him, see if you guys can work it out, just you and him. Sometimes it's a public matter, sometimes it takes a third person. Ralph said you called me a liar. Can you tell me what happened here? I didn't say that. Now you got to get Ralph. Ralph's in. Ralph's in it. And you know what the Ralphs of the world want to say? They want to stir up trouble, and they'll say, look, don't get me involved. Don't get you involved. You are problemo number one, buddy. See, we do that, don't we? We got to be very, very careful. And you know what? Every place is a little bit different. In the South, we say something bad, but we say, bless her heart, and it's not gossip. He means well. Runs his mouth, talks bad about people, doesn't like to preach a sermon, but he means well. We're good, aren't we? We're good at just covering that and putting the icing on that. Everybody here has been offended. And your tendency is one to talk to everybody about it, but go to that person. It will fester if you don't. And if he hears you, you've gained your brother. See, your purpose in going is to gain him, is to win him back. There's something between you and him. You want, motive is so critical. If it's resolved, you don't have to tell everybody else. Brother Mark, you want to know about Dallas? Dallas is a good guy. He did something, did a couple bad things about, to me and sort of spoke ill about me. But he said he was sorry, and I don't think you'll have any problem with him. Have I tainted his mind about Dallas? What did he do? Well, it's too bad to tell. That's what we do. He won't tell anybody. Here we go. Interactive preaching. He's right. My dad used to tell me, if somebody else knows besides you, it's not a secret. We preach this better than we practice it, let's be honest. If he doesn't listen to you, then treat him bad and talk bad about him and tell everybody he's a jerk. Now what it says, look, if he will not hear, grant him respect and time, and take with you one or two more. Now see, if the first situation didn't work, then now get a few more people involved. And then he quotes Deuteronomy that by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, every word may be established. Because you know what? You might be wrong. You bring one or two, by the way, do not bring 1 or 2 people that will agree with you no matter what you say. You're looking 1 or 2 people that will confirm the facts. And if this is done right, many times what will happen in that second meeting, they'll say, you brought us because you said this. And boy, as we've looked at this, we think you have made the issue what it is. And we should want to know if it's us. You know why we don't raise the white flag in conflict even when we know we might be wrong? Because winning is more important than reconciling. Many husband and wife have won an argument and put huge gaps in their relationship because they refuse to wave the white flag, refuse to keep their mouth shut. Some true things don't need to be said. Before you say anything, ask yourself 2 questions. Is it absolutely, unequivocally true? That's the easier one. Secondly, is it absolutely necessary? There's a lot of true things that just aren't necessary. You don't need to say it. Win your brother. Tell him you want his brotherhood back. You want that relationship back. If he doesn't listen to you, don't get emotional. Don't get defensive. Don't say this. I wrote this down. I'll be back, and then more people will know what you're really like. That's how we are sometimes. Get the facts confirmed. Get to the truth. No right decision can be rendered until truth is established. The church says, you know what good churches say? We want to be involved, Pastor. We want to be involved in the decisions of the church. Talk to us. Communicate with us. Don't forget about us. We're an important part of the decision-making process. You sure are. You sure are. But you know what? You can't pick and choose when you get involved. This next verse, as we wind down, isn't one you might want, but you have to embrace it. If the second level doesn't work, and those 2 confirm the facts that your brother has sinned against you and he is just not going to do anything about it. Verse 17, if he refuses to hear them, tell it to the church. Jesus is speaking, let me add. But if he refuses even to hear the church, let him be to you like a heathen and a tax collector.